Lakeville's rich history can be traced back to when Captain William B. Dodd first came through this area in 1853 when he was creating a road from St. Paul to southern military forts. Over time, people settled in the area, including the Jensens, who moved here near what today is the intersection of Interstate 35 and County Road 46. In today's History Moment, we'll take a look back at the Jensens family.
My mother was born in 1898 and my dad was born in 1899, and they started a small farm in Richfield. My father was a pretty progressive person as far as I can remember, and he was looking to expand the operation. And in 1925 the new bridge was built over the Minnesota River between Bloomington and Burnsville, which gave the people access to the southern metro, or the southern area. It wasn't metro at that time, but they evidently went out south looking for a bigger farm. I mean, Harry Streeflin had a lot of land in that area, and that's when they found one that they liked. It was 100 acres in the very northern part of Lakeville Township. They moved out there in the spring of 1927. There was a real nice barn on it, and I think that's what my father really was looking for. And there's a little story about when they were remodeling the house, the people had what they called a airtight stove to heat it, and it got too hot overnight and it burnt through the floor, and they found the stove the next morning in the basement. And how come that never burnt the house down, nobody knows. Jim was born in 1923, I was born in 1925, and Robert was born in 1928, and my sister Camilla was born in 1932. Bad part started when he lost his arm, about in 1933. They got cut down his ability to milk cows, of course. He could only do one hand at a time, so he went in and he bought a milking machine and put in a milking machine, and shortly after that he got interested in electricity. He put in a 32-volt electric plant in the barn, and that ran the milking machine. We also run wires to the house, so we had electric lights, just lights in the house, but that was pretty neat for that time. And then he had the first rubber-tired tractor in the area, and we bought that about in 35, I guess. And then that come up to a big disaster when he died in 1936. In 1939, the barn caught fire and burned, and it was kind of tragic. The hired men had been out and put the cows in and got ready to milk. They would often come in for a cup of coffee, and then my mother looked out and seen the smoke was coming out of the barn. So Jim and I weren't up yet, but we got up fast, and everybody went out, got the cows out of the barn, and Jim and I found some pipe wrenches and took the milker pump loose and got that out. And I don't know why we got to that, but that we didn't. We dropped the pipe wrenches on the floor, and after we cleaned up everything, the pipe wrenches still laid on the floor. And there's all the neighbors from all around the area came in and helped haul all the residue away, and so they got started building a new barn, and everything kind of changed in 1946. Jim got married, and they built a small house. He married a girl from downtown Lakeville, Ruth Mahold, and her dad was a cement man, and so they dug a basement, and we bought a double garage from Sears Roebuck, and brought it out there, and that's where Jim and Ruth lived until 1948. Then he acquired a farm out in the eastern part of Lakeville Township on Flagstaff Avenue, which is Flagstaff now, and there he farmed for 5, 6, maybe 10 years. He got elected to the town constable and served at that for a few years, and when the city, the village of Lakeville and the township merged, then he became the second town officer, and he patrolled the whole city, and he was policeman in the city until he retired in 1986, and then he died in October 2013. There's a park in downtown Lakeville that was named after him because of his service in the police department. We'll talk a little bit about my brother Bob. He was married in 1948. He married a girl from Bloomington. Her name was Bernice Paul. And in the spring of '49, they acquired a farm out in Cedar Lake Township in Scott County. And they farmed there for about 10 years. Then they were able to acquire a farm in Lakeville Township. It was on Flagstaff Avenue, a little about a mile north of where Jim lived. And he farmed there and became interested in, or he was elected to the town board, and he served as on the town board and as chairman of the town board and he was elected to the first city council, and he also served 4 terms in the state legislature. He was served a term on the Dakota County as a Dakota County commissioner, and he was on the Dakota Electric Board of Directors for a number of years. My sister was married in 1949, right out of high school. Her second husband was Stanton Lilly he was from Lakeville, and they eventually moved to Washington, Seattle, Washington, where he got his work brought him out there, and they lived there for a few years. Then they moved to California, where they had a restaurant, and they had a hardware store for a while, and eventually they retired, and they now live in Las Vegas. 1949 was a big year for me. I bought my mother out, took over the farm in February. I bought a new car and took delivery of that in June, and I got married in October. I married a gal from Richfield. Her name was Jensen, and we took over the farm then and run it. And it was in 1952, one of the big issues came up. They came to the door and were going to build a new highway across the farm, which wasn't accepted very well. But anyway, they built it, Highway 65 at that time. And later on it was increased up to a freeway. But anyway, then in 1954, we found a farm right down here, Lakeville, just a quarter of a mile from here. And we were able to acquire that, and we moved down here, and that's where we spent our years farming. It was 240 acres when we bought it, and I later added an 80-acre parcel to it. So I had 320 acres, and I started selling that off in 1982 and retired in '84. I was involved in quite a few different things. I spent quite a bit of time working with the National Farmers Organization, held several offices in there. I was a charter member of the Natural Resources Committee. I served on there for 12 years, and also a charter member of the new Lakeville Area Historical Society, and was president of that for several years. Having grown up in Lakeville, it's been a wonderful place to grow up and to live, and we just enjoyed it. All of us were involved in the city to some extent, and we just always thought it was a great place. All 3 boys really enjoyed our life here in Lakeville.